Kevin. It started this morning. Joe Biden getting in front in Georgia. Moments ago, getting in front of Pennsylvania.
Precisely. I'm just looking at my Bloomberg terminal. Joe Biden are now ahead in Pennsylvania by 5,597 votes. This according to the new data that has just come in. Joe Biden now leading President Trump in Pennsylvania with 5,597 votes. According to election officials on the ground in the Keystone State, still at least 20,000 votes to be counted in Philadelphia County, a predominantly traditionally Democratic part of the state, and other surrounding areas of Philadelphia and other counties still counting votes. But Joe Biden has now taken the lead in Pennsylvania and erased the edge that President Trump had in Georgia, a very much significant development over the past couple of hours. Meanwhile, the president, as you alluded to, still looking to make a legal case as it relates to a host of different swing states. You heard yesterday President Trump in the Brady briefing room, combative and looking to continue onward. What I have my eye on this morning, Jonathan, and what we should be looking for today is the comments from top Republican senators. Earlier this morning, Senator Pat Toomey, a Republican from Pennsylvania, speaking on NBC's Today Show, saying that he does not see any evidence of voter fraud in the battleground state. That's significant. Also, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell putting out a very measured statement in which he says that all legal votes need to be counted. A measured comment from the Majority Leader. Then you have House members, two that I want to point to, a retiring member and a prominent one. Congressman Denver Riggleman, a Republican from Virginia. He criticized the president for his tone in recent days, as did Congressman Adam Kinzinger, a veteran and also a prominent Republican in the party, raising concerns about how the campaign, as well as President Trump, is communicating. It's important to watch how the Republican Party begins to communicate to this embattled president as Joe Biden now taking the lead in Pennsylvania. Jonathan?
Well, Kevin, let's talk about that lead and why it's so important in Pennsylvania right now. 264, according to the Associated Press. Others haven't given him Arizona. Those 11 votes would take him back to 253. The 20 votes from Pennsylvania gets it done. Now, can you walk us through what's left to count in Pennsylvania and how heavily does that count at the moment as those mail ballots are still being counted? How heavily does that tilt towards the former vice president?
Data and history would suggest that the trend is that that would be beneficial toward Joe Biden. And that is why, quite frank with you, in the past couple of minutes, my sources on Joe Biden's election campaign are celebratory, to be quite frank with you, in terms of the shift that what this represents. However, as you and I have both talked about, it's important to be cautious. Bloomberg News has not called this race. There are still developments as it relates to Arizona and Maricopa County, as well as Nevada, where election officials in Nevada have said that they might need until this weekend to continue counting the votes on that front. We should note the prospects of potential recounts in North Carolina and Georgia, and the legal strategy that Rudy Giuliani, the former New York City mayor and, of course, the president's personal attorney, he was on the ground in Philadelphia just the other day, suggesting that there would be some type of legal front. And very much in real time. And typically, I don't go there, but it's important to note, conservative media, conservative thought leaders are also having in public, quite increasingly, a discussion about how to navigate this. And again, talk about a very key moment when the senator of Pennsylvania comes out on the Today Show and says that he does not see any evidence as of now of voter fraud.
Kevin, stay close, won't you?
Yeah.
A developing story moments ago. Vice President Joe Biden getting his nose in front in Pennsylvania. The outstanding votes there, much of them have been mail-in. Much of that has tilted heavily towards Joe Biden. That's where the momentum is, right there in that race. Pennsylvania gets it done. elsewhere in Georgia, just about getting his nose in front earlier this morning. In this market, we erased the losses of this morning, largely off the back of a huge upside surprise in a payrolls report, 24 minutes out from the opening bell. Let's bring in Sarah Ponzek. Sarah, your read on the price action this morning, please.
This is a market that is once again trying to move higher, tacking on possibly a fifth straight day of gains for the S&P. This after you mentioned a better-than-expected jobs report, 6.9%. That is your unemployment rate. At the same time, it has not been called, but a presidential race that looks incrementally closer to a Joe Biden win. There you see it. At one point, S&P futures were down 1.4%, pairing much of those losses. At the same time, our laggards on the week turn to winners, and our winners turn to laggards. There you see the Russell 2000 higher this morning, ever, albeit slightly. And you see the NASDAQ, the worst of the major benchmarks this morning, down 0.6%. Also, we see a bear steepening impulse in the bond market, too, with 10-year yields pushing higher once again after falling to the mid-70 basis point range. There you see, if you look at the 10-year right now, holding above that 80 basis point mark, still shy, though, of that 95 basis point mark that we did reach on election night as we were heading towards 1% at a brief moment, very brief, but still above 80 basis points this morning. At the same time, we do see the dollar headed lower once again, the dollar lower for a fourth day, now falling to a fresh two-year low. The Bloomberg dollar spot index at the lowest since April of 2018. So we just continue to see this bearish move for the dollar weakness holding on. And as we see the dollar head lower, that is a boost to emerging markets. Particularly, we are seeing a boost in the Asia-Pacific region. If we take a look at the MSCI Asia-Pacific Index this morning, I want to point this out because we are up 6% this week. That is the best week since April. What this means is it's depositing the index up 50% since March, just shy of a record in 2018, John.